readers,
reviewers,
countrymen,
lend us your ears. And a huge thank you to all of our Patreons.
Thank you to the Pit Fighters, the First Swords, and all of the Bright Stars. Truth and courage.
Hello and welcome back to, or for the very first time, to the channel. This is my brother Ed and I am Will, and together we make, if you haven't guessed already, the Brothers Gwyn. And so today we're going to be talking about our very favourite fantasy series of all time. We'll take any chance to talk about our favourite books, and here we are talking about the very best of the best in our opinion. So we've got a video that we've...
Oh, you go for it.
Sorry, no.
We do have one video, part 1 out, which was books 10 to 5, and now today we're going to be talking about books 4, 3, 2, some honourable mentions, and our favourite series of all time.
Yeah, because when you're talking about 10 series, why not talk about 13 but say you got honourable mentions?
But technically we talk about 26. Or some were similar, some were the same, some were different.
Yeah, I wonder how many are
Our reading
the same.
taste is mostly similar, but
Yeah.
we do look for sometimes different things, or appreciate different things when we are reading our books, don't we? But
I agree.
yeah, I'm really excited to talk about all these books and these series that we've got today. And it's awesome going back to series that I read years ago, and I really want to reread.
You still feel
some
such
now.
love
and
for.
you still feel love for the characters, the worlds, and everything else.
And everything else. Ed, why don't you start us off with your 4th favourite series of all time?
Should I kick it off?
We do say that a lot here.
We do. Okay,
A patron of ours, Ohio Ed, did say that we haven't had a good maybe on the channel lately. So, should we start, Ed?
well, will we say it today?
Maybe.
I mean, well, the question is, do you like Vikings? Have you liked Vikings? And when will you like Vikings? The Whale Road, the Oathsworn series by Robert Lowe. It's not low in my opinion, it's pretty high. It is a fantastic Viking Age rip-roaring adventure that will take you in areas of the Viking world that you have not travelled before. Pretty much every Viking series out there is about, well, it takes place in Scandinavia, or for the most part, in Dark Ages Britain. Oh, move over, because Robert Lowe takes this band of the Oathsworn, this mercenary company, all the way across the Viking Age world. And yeah, you go to Istanbul, Constantinople, which was known then as Miklagarth, and it is a fantastic journey, and you see all these different parts of the Viking world, which I absolutely love. Robert Lowe himself was a Viking reenactor, so his grip on the dialogue, on the mythology, on the action was just second to none. I love the way that he writes. He's incredibly poetic. And yeah, it's just a fantastic series that I love. These characters, I still hold them high in my heart. The main character, Orm, we follow him through this coming of age story as he becomes a notable man. And what I love about him is that he's not kind of, well, I hate to say this, but he's not really like a Bernard Cornwell leading man. You know, he's not like just the best fighter, the funniest, the best thinker, or the best at everything. He is incredibly grey, incredibly flawed, and incredibly real, and that's what I love about this series.
Very nice, Ed, and it's one that I have begun, and I need to get a bit more into, because you and Papa Gwyn said it gets better as it goes on, because book 1 I enjoyed, book 2 I enjoyed, but you said book 3 and 4 are the best, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, the weakest one is The Well Road, and then the book 4 is my favourite.
Which one is that?
The Proud Beast.
Proud Beast. I've heard you talk about that.
I cried.
Wow, that means it was a pretty good book
I cried at the
to move that
beginning.
stone cold heart.
Exactly.
At the beginning as well. Wow,
Yeah.
he really caught you off guard then.
Yeah.
Next up, well, my 4th favourite ever is the Fitz and the Fool trilogy.
Crying.
Definitely.
Robin Hobb just does what I just can't do, which is make you sob.
You've tried
So
a lot.
I've sent her lots of letters to say thank you.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that's brotherly love for you. But this is the Fitz and the Fool trilogy. You may be able to see the shelf. Missing book on the end. That's because it's in my hand. So, of the 3 series in the Realm of the Elderlings that I've read, which are the 3 consisting of a similar cast of characters, won't say who, in case of spoilers of who survives, dies, etc. But this final trilogy, oh my gosh, number 1 most satisfying moment in any book of all time ever that I've read is in the 2nd book of this series. And if you've read it, you know what I mean. I've never had like a moment where I actually fist bumped the air. And then 30 pages later I was sobbing, but we won't talk about that.
You back?
It did. I felt the force of the air around me. But yeah, this is a series that has it all. Incredible character growth. It's always a risk taking characters who have had their story so beautifully and satisfactorily rounded up in another series. It's a risk to take them further. But Robin Hobb just does it beyond compare. And yeah, it pays off. And what a beautiful, poignant final trilogy from Robin Hobb. It is just exceptional in every single way, and it is well overdue for a reread.
So all of her series is called Realm of the Elderlings.
Yeah,
is Live Ships in that?
I thought, how long is it going to take you to mention that?
Have you read Live Ships?
I have not read Live Ships. Okay.
Will you read Live Ships?
Just talk about your third, please.
My number 3 is Amanda Scott's Dreaming the Eagle. Another woman who writes amazing characters.
Well, the Boudica Quartet, and then book one is Dreaming
the Eagle is book 1. But yeah, Amanda Scott is another person similar to Robin Hobb who will rip your heart out of your chest and then show it to you and watch you sob. It's incredible the way that she writes. This story.
Didn't you say Amanda Scott is the Robin Hobb of historical fiction?
Absolutely. This is probably the most epic historical fiction series I've ever read, and it is the most intimate as well. We have these characters, and they battle so much. They battle the Romans, they battle each other, they battle their inner demons, and they battle so many other things. But it's a beautiful series, and I think beautiful is the most apt word I'd use to describe this series, because there are just touches of such beauty in the words, in the language, in the characters, in their relationships, and in their actions as well.
And in the tragedy as well.
And in the tragedy. And what I love about this series is sometimes what is left unsaid. You know, that Amanda Scott really lets you kind of fill in some of the lines yourself.
I love that respect to the reader, and knowing that they understand what is going on. You don't need to spell it out. She doesn't hold your hand,
but she leads you upon the trail, and the trail is full of tribulation and terror and also enjoyment.
Love and loss, heartbreak.
Exactly. It's an incredible series. Boudica is one of the main characters, and my favourite character is her half-brother, Ban. And what I love about this series as well is that it paints the good and the bad in colours that aren't as good and bad. You know, you have the Romans, and for the most part you probably will hate them, you know, but there are characters on the Roman side that you do get to know, and that you get to see them in a completely neutral light, and then you do grow to love these characters on both sides. There are good and bad, as there are in the real world on both sides, and it's just a riveting, just masterpiece, this series. So yeah, Boudica, please read it. Amanda Scott is one of my favourite authors, and yeah, I love it.
And in my first spot, I have a behemoth, a titan of the fantasy genre, and that is Lord of the Rings. So I've been quite cutthroat myself in this video, where I haven't read all of the Realm of the Elderlings, so I haven't read the Live Ship Traders, as Ed's already mentioned.
Really?
So I couldn't include that as one series. I just took it as what the trilogies were on their own, and so that's why that is 4th. And I've taken this as just the Lord of the Rings, so not the Hobbit and not the Silmarillion, which
your favourite.
If it was,
is the Silmarillion.
Yeah, if it was the Lord of the Rings with the Hobbit, Silmarillion, everything Middle-earth, this would be number 2. And then with Realm of the Elderlings,
I can't believe that the Silmarillion bumps it up to number 2.
Ed,
you are brainwashed.
Don't get on my wrong side there. I don't really care. Like, I'm happy if someone. Well, I'm not happy, but it doesn't faze me if someone dislikes a book I love, unless it's you being disrespectful about the Silmarillion, because you say it in a very disrespectful way. You don't even love Tom Bombadil. It's disgraceful behaviour.
You like him?
I don't love him. I do like him.
You like Tom Bombadil?
I like Tom Bombadil.
William,
and it upsets you.
Are we really brothers?
We are. I hate to tell you, but anyway, Lord of the Rings. This is just. It's just amazing.
It's your Goldberry.
A lot of people feature it just because of its significance to the evolution of the fantasy genre and so much beyond, and because of a lot of readers, their love started with The Hobbit. But for me, when I just reread these, every time I reread them, they get better and better. It's one of those. It's like, it often feels strange when I say authors like Stephen King are underappreciated. It's almost like Tolkien is, like, his genius. People don't actually think about the actual genius, like in his prose, for example. So your favourite chapter in any of Lord of the Rings is the Court of Meduseld, isn't it? Because his writing is just...
The Golden Hall.
Transports you somewhere else. And that is just something that it's really just unrivaled, and also the just sheer dedication to crafting a world here is incredible. The immersion, the world building, how you feel it's so vivid and real, and there's so much to dive into, and I will never know everything there is to know
and to delve
about Middle-earth.
but don't delve
too deep. Maybe that's why I don't know everything. But we don't want to delve too deep. And Lord of the Rings is just absolutely brilliant. It's one of those that I just feel such love in it. There's sometimes you can't explain your emotion. There's no words for it, but you just know how much you love it through that feeling in your chest, don't you?
There's so much heart in the Lord of the Rings, and there is like emotion, and I think also part of it is nostalgia for us.
That's what
that we've been obsessed with Lord of the Rings, the films and the books since since you were born, since I was a wee lad as well, and so they've played a big part in our lives, and I think especially these series that are at the top of our lists, they kind of mark stages of your life and what you know, what you love. Like Boudica, that was like, I will remember that year because of Boudica. They're such big parts of your life. So I like it.
Love it, Ed.
Good choice.
I love Lord of the Rings.
You're gonna have to go and give us your number 2 choice as well, because you have the book, and we have both chosen the First
series. Law by John. Okay, I thought you were going to go with both chosen and then really nicely linked.
Different ones.
The same series. The First Law by Joe Abercrombie, and so this is the first trilogy.
Abercrombie is fantastic.
I do love his standalones, and I love for the most part Age of Madness, but for me the highlight is the First Law trilogy. A lot of people they push the Blade itself to the side because they say, it's just kind of setting up the rest of the books and there's not a lot of plot. But I love it for that. It's probably one of the only books ever that I love for not having much plot, because it's about the characters and it's just perfect. So don't say anything in the comments. When I
some books I do understand. Look, maybe you won't gel with this, but people that say they find it boring, it just blows my mind, because Joe is such a genius writer that every sentence, I don't care what he's writing about, every sentence is fantastic, especially with these characters of Glocta, the the tortured torturer, of Logan, the barbarian who has 2 sides to him,
and Jezal
the greatest chin in all of the land. And come on, the Circle of the World. It's just an amazing series. I love the way that the First Law dives into the human psyche in all sorts of conditions and puts them in all sorts of scenarios that really put them to the edge. And I just love seeing these characters as they develop through the story. And there are so many underrated characters. I feel like Joe Abercrombie is the Tarantino of the book world, where the dialogue is so sharp as one of Logan's knives, and I think that his characters, they are so different to anything else that we will experience, and I just love the directions that he takes his characters, and he takes some serious risks with his writing in this series. And
That's true.
I just absolutely love it.
And we've got a lot of First Law content on the channel. We had a chat with the Awesome Legends. We had the privilege of interviewing Joe Abercrombie himself, but we also had an incredible chat with Philip Chase and Mike Britt Reviews about aspects of what is brilliant about the First Law, and we've done rankings of all the
Friends
books
Talking Fantasy. We had
Friends Talking
great
Fantasy
chat with as well. So the First Law is a series that we could just chat about any time.
Yeah, and we also did a video why the First Law is genius, and there's about 10 booktubers talking in that. And so, I think it's fair to say that we love the First Law. And so, our number 2 choice is...
Before we move on, who's your favourite character from the First Law? Just this trilogy.
Jezal. That's why I was very surprised.
Say that,
That's why I say I've never heard anyone say it, but for me, he had some of the most satisfying moments, the growth, and just utterly hilarious throughout. I mean, I love them all.
Number 2?
Logan.
Yeah, I mean, my number 1 is Logan, and my number 2 on the last reread was Colin West.
Really? Yeah, I do love Colin West.
So good. I mean, everyone says Glocta.
There is a lot that Colin West has throughout the series, which are highlights of the series that none of the other POVs are privy to.
Yeah.
But
furious.
Yeah.
Love it.
So good. But anyway, we could talk about this basically all day, but I'm sure you don't want to listen to us waffle on.
Let's get down to some honourable mentions.
And we'll be a bit quicker about these because...
We will.
Look,
I've got to have a nostalgia, kind of mention here. And it was a toss-up between The Black Cauldron and this series. And it's got to be Young Samurai by Chris Bradford. This is just... I could probably read this whenever I want. It is about,
so easy to read,
a coming-of-age story about a boy becoming a samurai, and he goes to school and you know, goes to a samurai school and all this kind of stuff. It's just a YA adventure that's just so much fun. The characters you meet on the way are great, and I loved reading about this as I think it was about 9, 10, 11 when I was reading these, and they're just books that I remember everything about, and they will stick with me forever. One of the books in the series as well is basically the Magnificent Seven, aka the Seven Samurai, but young samurai version, and it is fantastic.
And
yeah, I love them.
I read them, I believe, 7 times each, all 8 books.
That is some.
I used to, when I was younger, I didn't read new books. I just read the books I loved again and again and again. It's like you'd say that you'd see me watch a film on repeat for 48 hours, wouldn't you? You just...
Yeah,
I'll just put it on.
William would never switch it up. I mean, you do the same now. You'll watch The Office and then you finish it and you go back to watching The Office.
But also, when I watched Her with Joaquin Phoenix in it, I watched it 3 times just back to back, which a lot of people may find strange, but I just love it so much.
Do you know what that's called? That's called torture, because that film is one of the saddest films I've ever seen. But anyway, carry on.
Honestly,
Honourable mention.
My first honourable mention is the Winter Night trilogy by Catherine Arden, especially book 1, The Bear and the Nightingale. I love the historical fantasy. I love a main character. I love how the folktale and myths are brought into reality, and how this is a take on how history unfolded. A bit of history that is very tantalising. We know quite a bit about, but there's also holes in there which Catherine Arden explores brilliantly, and I love how that is done in The Bear and the Nightingale with beautiful lyrical prose. And yeah, I remember Patrick saying that a book has never made him feel cold before, but yes, this made him feel cold.
And this book will make you feel really upset inside. This series is the Border trilogy by Cormac McCarthy, the only literary fiction trilogy I think on this list.
Yeah, because there's a lot of like literary fiction is just like standalone.
Exactly. Yeah,
that's something I'd like to see a lot more of.
And what I love about this series, so you have All the Pretty Horses, great book. The Crossing, where you follow a different character, which is the best book, and then you have the third book, which is called Cities of the Plain, which is both characters in one.
Not as nice an addition, but just so you can see them.
Yeah, I'll hold them up because they're good to talk about as well. But what I love about Cormac McCarthy's writing is that he studies people in such a different way to kind of any other writer out there. His writing voice just really, really connects with me, and I just get so much out of his books. All the Pretty Horses is a brilliant book. There is kind of a romance, kind of focus here, but it is a remarkable book in terms of character development and seeing the world through this coming of age story, which Cormac McCarthy does really well. Suttree, it's a little bit of coming of age there, but I think that these books are where some of his strongest writing. And then you have The Crossing, which is right now it's my favourite Cormac McCarthy book. I think the first third of it is perfect. It's his best writing of anything. You really connect with the character Billy, and you will cry. You will cry, and you will never see wolves the same as after you read The Crossing. And there is humour in here that is brilliant, which usually you don't really think of Cormac McCarthy in humour, but yeah, I like The Crossing. And the third book is a brilliant kind of end to the series as well, where you have these characters, you know what they've been through in their preliminary stages of life, and here you see them as men, as grown men, and it's a really emotional read. So I love that series, and I love Cormac McCarthy's writing, and I just had to get him on this list.
Yeah, it would be wrong to have a top 10 without McCarthy on.
Yeah.
But okay, next up for me is Red Rising by Pierce Brown. So I've only read the original trilogy.
I was close.
It's just I don't know why a lot of people say that book 1 isn't as good as book 2 and book 3, and it's almost like after I've read them I kind of just fell into believing that, and then I reread this and I was just like, this is actually just brilliant just on its own. And then book 2 gets better and better, and it's probably Golden Sun has possibly the most shocking moment in any book I've ever read. Well, okay, maybe A Song of Ice and Fire.
Golden Sun has like multiple Red Wedding moments.
It does, and it is just brilliant. Pierce Brown's is just the pace he upholds.
I'm so sorry.
That was a loud sneeze. It's like since you become a father. I think it must be a father thing that they just sneeze so loud. You didn't used to do that until you had baby Iris.
I think I've been a loud sneezer, but I mean, maybe.
Not quite like that.
I'm really loud sneezer.
But anyway, we rudely interrupted.
Pierce Brown.
Pierce Brown manages to keep this breakneck pace whilst having the slow moments, building these character growth and character interactions in a way that I don't actually understand how he manages to do it all at the same time. But yeah, absolutely brilliant.
I love the balance of this series,
and they love it
between
for a
politics, relationships, and action. And it does all three perfect, in my opinion.
It's very intimate, but also epic politics as well in a fantasy.
Yeah.
Well, a fantasy sci-fi landscape at the same time.
Cool. And the last honourable mention for me, how could I have a list without The Lord of the Rings? Now, The Hobbit's here, so I'm going to include that because it's in the box. Actually, it says The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, so we'll ditch The Hobbit because it's a standalone. But
That's not disrespectful. We'll just set it
they're actually in the
aside.
wrong order, so sorry about that. My favourite one is The Two Towers. What's your favourite one, guys? Let me know in the comments below. What's your favourite Lord of the Rings book? I mean, Return of the King, great. Fellowship of the Ring
There's a bit you're
could
not
be my favourite.
What in the books?
Tom Bombadil, go away.
There was a bit you didn't really like the kind of just after they leave the Shire as much, did you? See, it's your favourite film, but
So after I reread it,
Okay.
which I reread it just after we had Iris,
Mhm.
this is the first book I read, and
the
then,
picture of Iris holding.
then I loved it. But
Oh,
it's
really?
Tom Bombadil ruined it. But I mean, not ruined it for me. But the Shire segment is just incredible, and Glorfindel. I love Glorfindel so
Glorfindel's
much.
the best.
What a guy! I'm so gutted he's not in the film. But yeah, obviously, what is there to say about Lord of the Rings that other people haven't said? But pretty much nothing. But I love it. I love this series. I think the films, as I said earlier, the films and the books have always been such a huge part of our lives, and
That's
I
true.
think they always will be. And the Fellowship of the Ring, Two Towers, Return of the King are just staples to our diet of literature.
I like how we said we'll talk very briefly about honourable mentions, and we've probably spent longer
Talking about them.
That's us. Don't keep the promises.
We love
Last
it.
up, I have Book of the Ancestor. This is book one, Bread Sister by Mark Lawrence. Whenever I talk about this series, I always read the first line because I think that's probably the way to show people how this immediately just
People probably are
hooks you.
so sick of this first line now.
Let me get my glasses. It is important when killing a nun to ensure that you bring an army of sufficient size.
Nice reading, Will.
For Sister Thorn of the Sweet Mercy Convent, Lanotaxis brought 200 men. That
You could be an Audible narrator. You're going to give
Thank
Alan
you.
a run for his money.
Thank you very much. But that is Book of the Ancestor. It takes the warrior school trope, but in a nunnery, basically. And I love how the fantastical elements are brought in with a character that is like, if you've watched Logan, she's like a mini Wolverine, basically. And it's just awesome. Do you need to hear anything more? Very funny, yes. Very
From
funny.
Australia.
Anyway, now
I think
on
Wolverines
to...
are from Australia.
I'm just going to... As in Hugh Jackman.
No, Wolverines. Not multiple Hugh Jackmans.
Yeah, okay. I thought you were moving on to a different joke, but
Oh
the same
dear.
one.
Anyway,
We've got the same-
We have the same. This one we do know in advance that we have the same series. That is our number one pick. Of course, we are called the Brothers Gwyn. If you hadn't worked it out yet, we are Papa Gwyn's sons. But we wouldn't choose Papa Gwyn's books just because we are his sons. We have chosen them because he gave us £50 each time we mention him. So we're just going to rack up.
Let's not hide.
We absolutely adore the Faith and the Fallen, of Blood and Bone, the Bloodsworn, all equally, and we just couldn't choose another series at the top of the list. We, again, as I was saying, this series has played such a huge part in our lives that we will always be obsessed with them. I mean, me and William have spent more conversations talking about these characters than we've talked about anything else probably put together.
Well, what else is there to talk to each
I
other
don't know,
about?
yeah, apart from West Ham losing all the time, but that's fine. But so I just absolutely love these series. Papa Gwyn crafted these characters that stick with us forever, and they feel like friends, and they also, some of them feel like enemies, and you do want to get in these pages and knock their block off.
We are going to have a lot more Papa Gwyn content on the channel in the coming months, especially with the release of Fury of the Gods later this year to conclude the Bloodsworn saga. And
can you put them in the right order, please? Thank you. Sorry, Karen.
But big question: who is your favourite Papa Gwyn character? Ed, who's yours?
Come back to me.
Okay.
Who's yours?
Okay. Matt Gwyn or Orca?
Corban or Vesley?
Vesley. Do you think you will be Vesley in the audiobook?
Don't tell me to do the voice.
Do it.
No, I haven't practiced it properly yet. No, but I would don't. But I would like to do to be Vesley in the series one day when it comes to HBO.
Yeah,
definitely will.
But in all seriousness, as Ed said, that this isn't just because he's our papa. It's because we have such love for it, and You could say that is just nostalgia because you've grown up in these stories and talked about the characters around the dinner table. But I don't think so, because
we still do it.
We didn't talk about these growing up because he only wrote it about 3 years ago, and it is absolutely just incredible.
I think these books are kind of part of our DNA.
They are.
You know, and they mean so much to us, really because of our pride of Papa Gwyn, as well as, you know, he has raised us, so we enjoy things because probably he's forced us to enjoy the same things, you know. And he's berated us if we enjoy things that he doesn't enjoy. So yeah, you know, these are kind of basically written for us, really. I mean, Papa Gwyn did start writing them for us, you know, to start telling our stories, and he'd always tell us great stories. And some of those stories and segments he's used in these books. So that's
true.
Yeah, they're a very important series to both of us, the whole family. So how can we not choose it for number one?
And so that is our top 10 top 10 series of all time, no matter the genre. And yeah, so they are very favourites of all time. We've loved talking about our favourites, and we snuck some honourable mentions in there as well. Please let us know if any of these that we've talked about have piqued your interest. Have you read any of them already? Are there any that you'll be picking up? What were your thoughts on the ones you read? So many questions.
Have you read any Papa Gwyn? Will you read any Papa Gwyn? When will you read some Papa Gwyn?
Everyone, as always, thank you so much for watching. Truth and courage.
Truth and courage.
Stay safe.
The Brothers Gwyn.